Well, hello everybody. It's a podcast in Kat's Shoebox Kitchen. This is a kitchen session. So pull up a cuppa. This is going to be a good one. I'm having water in a Gerolsteiner bottle. And it is filtered from the tap because I won't drink that crap. And it is enhanced with Celtic real sea salt, fine, and I use 2020 Mule Team for my boron. It's a borax. Yes, it is poison, only for ants and cockroaches and other things that have bodies that get stabbed to death. Table salt, Morton's table salt, that's sodium chloride, NaCl, and I believe the composition of 2020 Mule Team, which is laundry enhancer and a cleaning agent, and is used for other things too, but it is essentially a neutralizer in my belief system of an element on the periodic table that was put into public drinking water in the 1950s and has been commonly known amongst conspiracy theorists, such as myself, and this is not a medical claim, this is not medical advice, this is my opinion, degenerative issues. I will tell you this, that ever since I have filtered my water and then added a particular element, a trace element, I told you it begins with a B and with an N, has an O and R and an O in it. So spell that out. What do we get? It is an essential element that you need to research and find out more about it to find out how it occupies that terrible, terrible F word, which was put into the water in the 1950s. And it is essentially our United States government and our municipalities practicing medicine, because they are putting a substance into the water for public health. And in my belief system and experience, that F word goes on the teeth as a treatment for 2 whole minutes. That's why you brush for 2 whole minutes. And by the way, why would commercial toothpaste have a warning on it with drug facts? It's a drug. So why are municipalities putting a drug? Why are municipalities practicing medicine and getting away with it? Why? Because we live in the very same effed up society, which is a patriarchy, which is run by corporations, the corpse, dead, oratorio. The dead entities have just as much rights as you do, if not more, because they've got more of this stuff, moolah. And the more moolah they have, the more they can tell you to shove it on the fuckers and fatherfuckers alike, and they can do what they want until enough people stand up to them. But because the public is very slow to figure SHIT out, especially since their brains have been ruined. This is not medical advice. This is not a medical claim. Medical. It is, by the way, comical that it disrupts the ability for the neurotransmitters in your brain to make a connection beyond 1, 2. You know what I mean? It's like a person who can't dance beyond the 2-step. They can't do a box. They can't do a turn. They can't do anything, let alone the waltz, because that's a 1, 2, 3. So I can, it just isn't enough for a person to, I'll put it to you this way. As an individual, it's up to you to look out for your health, because corporations aren't going to do it for you, because they actually benefit off of your demise. And so do men in online dating apps, which is why I'm not on them. That's subject number 2. I have stories about it. I met one man on the Bumble app when I started looking at the available gender that I prefer for romantic encounters and partnership, if there is such a thing between a man and a woman, a partnership. I know there is amongst the millennials because I've witnessed it, but fat chance for us that have boomers as boyfriends. Ugh. Or unless he's an enlightened person, forget it. And Gen X, they're slightly better, but the millennial men, they know. And if somebody goes, oh, it's because the women had to work, all the boomer men made me work. And they measured my worth by the money, not by the joy, not by the love, not my ability to procreate and have beautiful children, not my ability to be resourceful and make beauty out of nothing. None of that. No, the men only thought money was important. Yeah, they're money fuckers is what they are. So, feminism was created by men, and men are blaming women for feminism. And they created it. Isn't that crazy? I mean, ever since Eve supposedly told Adam to eat the apple, and he did, and then along comes the serpent, he throws her under the bus. He tells the serpent Eve told him to. So ever since Eve, men have been blaming women. It's biblical. But we all know, though, that that was the beginning of the patriarchy, organized religions. And if you look at the history of his story is wrong, of our planet, her story has been obliterated, flattened. Tartaria has remnants of it. Her story, the chalice, the Holy Grail, her story is under the earth. In the ground, buried. It's for archaeologists. Now, women are the weaker sex, meaning most men can pulverize most women. And especially at the age of 13, when their hormones kick in. That's why when these trannies that compete in women's sports have the advantage of the testosterone, they're naturally going to be stronger. And like I said in one of my videos, what woman do you know is excelling and getting awards in a man's sport? Or she has to use her physical body? Zero. So that's funny that I bring that up too. But hey, it's a conversation worth having. So fluoride is the F word, and you can figure it out for yourself, folks. But if you take a look at our history in books, you will notice that the human beings, the old ones, they weren't sitting in chairs with canes. They were doing a yoga squat because they could still bend their knees. Did people get lazier? Did people watch more TV? Maybe. But wouldn't you say that perhaps all the degenerative diseases that people are having, all the aches and pains in joints, all the macular degeneration, in my version of reality, which is a complete fantasy because I'm a storyteller, I would say it's that one culprit. And if you can figure out how to occupy it, then you're doing good. All right? So it was hair washing day. I just washed my hair and it's drying. And you can see my nipples, which is why I have to wear this, but I'm getting hot and it doesn't look like you can see my nipples from here. No, you can't. Okay, good. Ha. So I was born with nipples and they grew. And then after I had babies, they became gumdrops. And now they just poke out of my clothes, even with a bra. And I can't actually fit into bras. I can only fit into training bras because my breasts are so small that they're just little nice round mounds with nipples on them. Perfect. Now the perfect champagne size. I wonder if they fit into a martini glass. Let's find out. No, they'd probably fit into a pony. They don't, this is too big. And this is the wrong angle. That's too small. And that's just wrong. So feminism was created by men. And online dating is a resource for men. Back to that thing. Okay, so I met one man on Bumble who I realized when I met him bad vibed his wife into committing suicide. She was on antidepressants for 2 years. He told me she had been very, very sick. And she died at home. And little did I know, she left a note and took her own life. And he found her. And she probably left a large apology and bled out in the tub. But when you find stuff out about men who are over 50, you realize that if you haven't married by the time you are 40, you shouldn't ever get married. Unless you're one of the lucky ones and you find a man that values you for more than your material wealth. And they are not in existence. All men are gold diggers, and they call women gold diggers. All men want a younger version, and they will actually divorce a perfectly wonderful woman just so they can get it off and get it on with a younger woman if they're men of means. So, dating apps are for men of means to have easy access to willing vaginas, period. And you will never find a man of substance on there who actually respects you as a woman, because if he's single, he probably killed his wife. Allegedly. Inadvertently. The bad vibe in her. Every last man that I met that was a widower was the reason why. Unless she had a tragic death, like she took a trip to Turkey and she was on one of those buses where the guy's half in the bag and he drives the bus off the side of the mountain and then it tumbles down and all the people on the bus die practically, okay? Unless that happened to her, he bad vibed her to death. Men are terrible to their wives. They're terrible. They're selfish, they're egotistical, they're loud, they eat too much, they're demanding. They don't attend to her emotional needs, yet they want to get FUCKED'd. As a sexual woman, I did enjoy that, but I also have photographs I found while I'm going through my art supplies, because my art's coming back. And I did a series of myself with feathers in my nude photos, and it was Cindy Sherman style, and it was my emotions, and it was the neglected woman. And why? Because my children's father, my then husband, my first one, my starter, and I was the second, which was, I wasn't important to him. I wasn't important to him at all. He just needed to get FUCK'd. That was all he needed, was have his needs met. Anyway, I did a Cindy Sherman-esque session in which I'm, showing the emotions of being neglected and not attended to, because I was a hoe and my husband had the bro code. I was a hoe in his mind. I was nothing important to him at all. I was a nuisance. My very existence would piss him off. He wanted to go to his friend's house so he could watch a big screen TV, because on loud, that's the value he had. That's shallow. You know what Eve should have done? She should have given Adam the apple, told him to eat it, not had a bite, and then said, "Hey, serpent, get over here. Look what this bozo just did," after God told him not to. But we know it's a made-up story. It's all symbolism. The tree of knowledge, well, we're eating from the tree of knowledge now. You know what the tree of knowledge is? Dating apps are for opportunistic men, the sexual predator, who's good looking and has money, and willing vaginas. And you know what a man will do my age? He will F-U-C-K me if I let him. All the while doing that with any other willing vagina because he's sex positive. Men are stupid and simple. All because of circumcision. Circumcision removes the protective sheath, and then all you feel is that thing, and it's rubbing all the time, and then you get desensitized. Then you watch porn, you're always jacking off because you have this feeling in your pants constantly. Then you get your hormones, and you suddenly, we can't stand you as girls. Like when I was 12, I could play baseball with y'all. But at 13, no way. Part of the reason why I learned how to run really fast was to get away from you guys. That's true. Only it was the big bad doo-bah boys, and when I grew up in a suburb in New Hampshire. And then when we moved out to the country, I was so excited because I no longer had to look left and right for safety. I could actually go out into the woods. I'm not worried about being attacked, hit, beat up, chased, and mauled by stupid boys. Ugh. Don't get me wrong. I love men. My father died this year, and with it, he broke the mold of what the gentleman was like. But he had a problem. He had a little boy complex, and my mommy was his mommy too. And he didn't mind getting yelled at. And in fact, it was both his... If she hadn't become such a domestic abuser that pushed him, hit him, yelled at him, shoved him, he'd still be alive. But he's on the other side now chuckling, and I say, all right, Dad, guess what? You've got freedom to live on your own now. She can't get you. Enjoy your life. And that way he can do what he wants. He can study. He can tinker. He can build things. And he can actually enjoy who he is without being berated for his being. That woman berated him. Oh, your father, he's so slow. It's like, yeah, because when he goes to take a shower or a bath, he can actually lock the door and you can't get in there. And if he hadn't had any time all day, well, they didn't actually lock the door, but he would go and shower up and she would leave him alone. And then he would go change and she would leave him alone. But otherwise, pester, 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 pester. So I had that kind of mother, and I'm like, I swore I was never going to be the bitch. I was going to be good to my husband if I ever had one, and I ended up having one. Albeit it was a shotgun wedding because I was knocked up, then married. But then I got the best gift ever, which was my daughter. But I never would have been in that situation if I had parents who actually didn't shove me out of the house and say, you're on your own, kid. Good luck. We did it back in the 1930s. We're sure, sorry, they were born in 50s. We know you can do it too. Not that the 50s and the 80s had 30 years difference and 30 years of what money was actually not after a while. But like, we did it, it'll build character. Well, you know what it did eventually? It did build character. Because my background, I had to get a roommate wanted ad for my house. A woman answered it who was beautiful, and she said, your place is a dump, but I like you, and you're so pretty. Let me show you what I do for a living. And she was an exotic dancer, and she worked at a peep show. And what is all nudes? We were all nude. Guess what I learned out about men? Guess what I learned about men? First of all, I didn't realize that they would get excited by looking. Like men want to have sex with you just because they look at you and desire you. They want to lick your pussy even though you're a stranger. And in my particular setup, we had plexiglass. They were in the private booths. In the circle in the round where we did all nude dancing, you would come out with a top and G-string and you would do a strip tease. And you'd be out there for 3 songs, which was roughly 10 to 15 minutes max, because songs were 3 to 5 minutes. And so each. And so, and then the DJ would say stuff in between. We had a DJ, And this was back with cash. This was in 1985. And I couldn't pay for rent. I couldn't pay for food. I couldn't pay for tuition for school anymore. And then I put the roommate wanted ad in, and she answered it, and then I discovered the world of men. So I have a unique view and empathy for you motherfuckers, because what I discovered is that men have a lot of hang-ups. I'm not saying women don't, but men have a lot of hang-ups, and they're perversions. There's a lot of perversions. But a big thing that I found out was that all men have different sizes, and my mother told me, Kathleen, all men have the same size erection when erect. Okay. And let that sink in. All women have the same breast size when you take the bra off. Wrong. Women have smaller boobs when you take the bra off. They sag down to their belly buttons a lot of times when you take the bra off. But men that are into boobs always wanted the milk from mommy, and they never got it. And so boob men are very weird. You guys are very weird. Just have at it. But like, you guys turn into like nothingness, mush brains around the mammaries. And it's like, if a woman's got her bra off and her boobs just like slink down like little saddlebags, or they're smaller because she stuffed them, you guys don't care. You got a naked woman. You got an erection. Right? Except nowadays you guys have lost that ability because you're porn addicted, a lot of you. And porn has messed up with your brain so bad. Why don't you stick to Playboy? Just look at the stills. Why don't you look at the old Sears and Roebuck's catalog? With the bras? With the women? Okay, do this. Victoria's Secret. At least that's soft porn. Yeah, the man I met on Bumble was bad and a manipulator and yucky and icky. And I'm like, oh, some poor woman is going to think that he's the cat's meow without realizing he's a psychological destroyer of her psyche. And he's a controller in subtle, subtle ways. And then she will wonder why she's on antidepressants after a couple years in his presence. He's unavailable. This is what men do. They love bomb. They get to know you. They get to know all about you. You relax. You finally have sex with them. Then you're bonded. They could have sex with Betty, Sue, Trina, no problem. But you've bonded. And then they manipulate you. And if you become a wifey like I did, which means you will do everything because you're a kind person. Now I will do absolutely nothing for a man. I will not drive to see a man. I will do absolutely nothing for a man that's not related to me. But I'm not dating, so that's out of the picture anyway. But on Bumble, it was like I was not going to go 45 minutes to a coffee shop. I was not going to travel 20 minutes out of my way. I was invite this person to what I was already doing. Care to join? Great. Choose company. And yeah, I met men in real life, and the men in real life weren't any better. I have stories about that. Most of the men that I have had interesting encounters with, or at least enough information about them to know, have been in real life. So women, unless you're a willing vagina for a sex positive man, and they all are, don't do it. It's a waste of your money. Unless you're in procreating years, you're seriously and don't use that stupid term high value. It's high value in a materialistic world means you have money. High value in the spiritual world means you have integrity and honor. That's two different things, isn't it? So high value has nothing to do with money. Ye of little information in your brains. It has to do with the fabric of your spirit, how you manifest your soul, who you are on the inside, how you treat other people, how you view other people, how much compassion you have. Now, my weakness is my empathy. And so I have to clear myself after I get around people, because I will adapt their attitudes. And then I'll be like, oh gosh, I don't feel that way at all. So I use a sounding bowl, a singing bowl, Om, sage, white light, visualization, right? White light, white light, white light. You clear your field. But yeah, porn has ruined men. And I tell women, get off the dildos with the batteries, girls. That's ruined you. And I've told women this, and I've said stuff to them like, well, you know, the problem with our modern culture, society, is men are porn addicted, as if circumcision wasn't bad enough. And the increased sex on television, the increased sex talk, the laissez-faire attitude that's like, I always detested the gratuitous love scene. I'd be like, please, please. I remember the blue light and the love scene in Tom Hanks and Kelly McGillis in Top Gun. That's called movie sex. And if you want to use that for in your male mind to make love to a woman, do it. But if you use that in your male mind to masturbate, don't do that. Because then when you meet a real woman who you number from 1 to 10, you won't know the value. Plus, you'll think you're a 10 when she doesn't. Most men underrate women and overvalue themselves and overrate themselves, from what I've discovered. Yep. So I was in the exotic dance, and some of the women did blowjobs. I did the phone sex because there's no way I was going to touch one of those things. I was scared of them. I didn't even have experience. I think I'd had sex once and I never touched a penis in my life, meaning it was the way you do it. It wasn't actual, like, I didn't touch, manipulate. When you get married, you learn your skills. You learn your sex skills because of your regular use of sexuality in the relationship as the way you worshipped. I worshiped my partner. I gave my body willingly, openly, willingly, wanting also to feel his ardor for me, right? And yeah, a lot to say about that. But what I discovered is men, they take minutes, seconds. It takes them no time at all. And when I was younger, I read that book, Life According to Garp, and then the movie came out with Robin Williams. It was written by a man, and this girl is with him naked outside someplace in the apple orchard, whatever. And she's experienced, and so she's like, oh, do you have a condom? He goes, no. She goes, oh, well, Garp, no love, no glove. And then she goes down on him and sucks him off. No. Male fantasy. That's pornography, soft porn. It is not what women do unless they have self-esteem issues. Women do not naturally crave to suck you off. It's what you do when you're married, when you crave him inside of you and he's not hard enough. During round 2. I mean, come on. You want an education? Men can do it with anything. Women bond. Women never have sex with a man you've known for less than 2 months, let alone a year. And be okay with him dating and effing Tina, Gina, Trixie, because he has to have sex in modern time. Men can't keep it in their pants. That's the truth. They gotta have sex. They gotta jerk off. And it's the way they're made. And it's because of circumcision that they're oversexed. It's one of the worst things you can do to a man. You were made with the foreskin. They lied to you when they told you it was healthier. They lied to you when they said the F word in the water was better for you. It's not. It's a treatment. The F, you know what I'm talking about, the chemical, is a treatment. It's a treatment for the teeth. For 2 minutes. Do you think when you drink tap water that you're keeping it on the teeth for 2 whole minutes? No, it's going straight into your system. So unless you occupy it with the B word, that trace element that I told you about, do your research, talk to your doctor, talk to your naturopath, read some stuff, figure it out for yourself, have some responsibility. And you probably can if you have too much fluoride in your brain, because you won't be able to have the neurons go bounce, bounce, and then bounce, 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 bounce. You'll keep going, oh yeah, I need to do that, and then you never will. And you never will. And you wonder why you have joint issues. And you wonder why you can't go all the way down in a yoga squat when it was perfectly natural for our ancestors to do it before the 1950s. So they, who are they? The governments of the world who have taken over, and they are parasitic, and they have changed history into history. They changed the matriarch into the patriarch. And they created feminism, and the men are blaming it on the women. And here's the deal. Women can't not be feminists because you guys are so terrible. You expect sex in 2 weeks dating online. Or off. It's like you're going to have it right away. My children's father, I got to know him as a friend. I knew him for 6 months socially. And then he was kind and nice, and he protected me from his evil friend Randy, who was married but separated and wanted to have access to a willing vagina. And I was an unwilling vagina, and I looked to my then friend for protection, and he gave it to me, only to have him become my lover, and then become possessive, and then become jealous, and then to treat me like I was thwarting his life plans because he had to go to his friend Barry's house to watch television at high volume when we had 2 babies, 17 and a half months apart. And whenever I worked, he stayed home, and he fed them dinner by going to McDonald's and getting Happy Meals or making chicken at home. And I didn't have any recreational time when he was off to his friend Barry's house at wood shop, they called it, which is secret code word for the bro code for watching television on loud and having a couple beers and not having parental responsibilities or doing the baths and then burping the child and doing the nursings and all of that. He was such a bad man for a husband. His current wife, who actually is a CUNT, is fat now. And she has meltdowns because he's unavailable. And he really doesn't care about her. And guess what I found out? His schlong no longer works. Because he's 65. And I'm very mean for saying these things about them. And I should be nicer. But what they put me through was HELL. What they both put me through. And now I'm better off because of it. And they have each other. And I'm glad I don't have him in my life. And I am glad my children escaped her. And my daughter is finally happy with a man who treats her like the true gem she is. Now, she is a delightful, funny, intelligent person. She makes great money. She's very creative and resourceful. And she finally has a man who works too. And we laughed because her last two boyfriends did not want to bring home the bacon because she did. Yeah. Yep. And what we discovered about men is that they're the gold diggers. They're the materialists. They're the ones that judge. And this is what happens. They become meaner and resentful to you, the female. Men are not nice. They are not nice to you. They just want to F-U-C-K you. So if you haven't married before 40, don't. You're better off. And if you want to really understand what it's like being married, then why don't you just ask a married woman? The only reason you get married is to have babies. And do it before he's ruined by another woman. My mistake is I married a man who had a marriage and a child ahead. My mistake was having sex with him without establishing a relationship. But I didn't know all the red flags to look for, and they were all there. He was jealous of my friends. He was angry when he didn't know where I was. This was back before cell phones. And Mrs. the Man, when we had wall phones, and the cell phones weren't out yet, on our 4th anniversary, and we had a date, stayed at work and didn't even call me to tell me he wasn't going to be home. I had no idea if he were dead on the highway, but knowing that I think I looked for, I don't know, accident reports because of the news. There were no accident reports. Rush hour is only 30 miles per hour on the highway, 35. Yeah, so he treated me like SHIT and was so astonished when I finally left. Begged him to go to counseling. Told him I needed to have my needs met. Told him I needed to have time to myself. Told him I needed him to actually bless it. I needed him to actually be okay with it. I didn't need him to be jealous of my girlfriends. I did not need him to be jealous thinking I was out having sex with some random stranger. I needed him to be a man. I needed him to be a husband. And what he needed? A mommy. Yep. And I hated who I was with him because I told you in the beginning, I never wanted to be a bitch like my mother. And that's what men do. They make you become one. Women, you're better off alone, rewriting your story of your life so it's her story. You're better off realizing that the patriarchy made feminism. And we need it because y'all aren't worth being married to anymore. You abuse us, you use us, then you discard us and trade us in for a younger model. Bumble, any dating app, forget it. And girls, there is no such thing as casual sex. Not for you, but it is for him.